weeks ago, these men, they took me from my home. They took me to this place, this little tiny island, and they hunted me. They hunted me for days, possibly even weeks. And they took me then to this little tiny room, this little tiny box, and they kept me drugged. Every day they would come in, they would shoot this needle in my arm to keep me out, to keep me down. I could not cause them any harm. I could not even speak to them. Everything I had to have from them. Everything I did, it wasn't up to me. I just did things, it wasn't really up to me. And then they stopped. I remember this, they stopped. I remember because there was no one coming in and I was becoming lucid again. And then this man came in. He was dressed in a suit and in a tie. This was different from anyone I've ever seen come to me before. He said to me his name was Roy. And then he asked me a question. And the question he asked me was this. He asked me if I enjoyed not having free will, if I enjoyed not having the choice to do what I wanted, because this was freedom. I had to do absolutely nothing. It was done for me. He asked me if I enjoyed this. I did not answer him. I stared him in the eyes. I expected him to move on, but he did not. For that day, and for that night, and the next day, he just sat there. He looked at me. And he fell asleep. And he woke up. And he looked at me again. And then I went to move for him. I was getting angry. I was going to beat him. I was going to leave. And these men, they rushed in and they beat me and they started me on the drugs again. I don't know how long, but the same thing happened again. They didn't come back with the drugs for several days. I was becoming lucid again, and then I was lucid, and then this man came in, the suit and tie. His name was Roy. And he asked me the question again, did I enjoy this? This time, I wasn't going to sit here. I wasn't going to let him stare at me. I answered him. I said, no. Why would I be? Why do you insist that I stay here, that I am under drugs? Why do you want me here? And he said to me, he didn't really answer, but he said to me, when was the last time that you slept? And it had been several days that I had becoming lucid, and I didn't sleep. And I thought back to the time before. We had waited 2 days. We had stared at each other for 2 days. He had slept. I had not. And I said to him, I have not. What have you done to me? Why have you done this? What is your reason for this? And he answered me. He said, we're doing this for the world. This is the next stage of humanity. A humanity that does not require sleep. Humanity that is powerful and strong. Aren't you proud? Are you proud of yourself? Aren't you proud that you are the first and only test subject for the moment? Proud? How could I be proud? He had taken me from my home and my family and everybody and everything I ever loved. And he brought me here and kept me caged and drugged and down. I said, no. I answered him. I got very angry. And then he left. And then I went back on the drugs. I don't know how long again. But it lasted for days probably weeks. And then, slowly, like waking from a dream. You don't remember when it happened, but you know that it happened. And sometimes you feel like you've been awake for a while. This is what happened. I became conscious and aware of everything I did. They continued with the drugs. They thought that I was out. They thought that I had no clear thoughts. But yet I did. And I planned my escape. Then I noticed I was strong. I noticed I had become powerful, that I had strength and endurance. I could bust down the door with my fists. I did. I found a room very close. It was a lab. I took from there as many of the bottles of test one. They labeled it. I don't know why. But they did. And they took as much of it as I could. I've still got some left. I don't know what happens to me if I stay off of it for too long. And so I'm spending as much time as I can get in labs that I can find, trying to determine what it is made of and to synthesize it. I'm afraid to sleep. And when I escaped, I went to the police, and they sent me somewhere else to get this taken care of, to bring justice to these people who harmed me, who took me away from my family. They did nothing. They were afraid. They perceived these people as more powerful than them. There is no justice in this. And so, I must come up with a new idea of justice. I must create a role model for these people to see that justice is not afraid, that even if your opponent appears more powerful than you could ever be, that there is no reason. Because justice is all powerful, and justice will always succeed and achieve what it desires. And with justice, when the world can be full of justice and everybody can be free of tyranny, then the world will be safe and the world will be better. And so I must become a role model for the world to see that justice does not need to be afraid. And so I have become a panda man.